Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name's Colin, semicolon, Brez. Today we have a Dragonflight profession tier list video where I'm going to go through and rank all of the Dragonflight crafting professions. Um, and kind of talk about why I'm ranking them where I'm at, what I'm doing within those professions that are profitable, and hopefully this will give you an idea of a couple things. Number one, what you could do for profit in whatever professions you currently have, and then two, also get an idea of maybe where professions are currently at within Dragonflight. If you're looking to get into professions, maybe this will give you some ideas of where to start. So, in order to facilitate this ranking list, what I have done is created a ranking list or a tier maker, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. We've seen them before. So, yeah, let's just kind of dive right into it. And I apologize, there's so many ads, but whatever. So, we are going to start with Enchanting. So, Enchanting is a profession that I think is profitable, has been profitable for a lot of people, but I'm personally going to put Enchanting into D. So why did I put Enchanting into D? So number one, from my experience, okay, again, this is just my experience, but in order to really have profitability with crafting enchants within Enchanting, it required a knowledge point accumulation that lasts a long time. So a lot of people that are probably making money within Enchanting right now started Enchanting back when Dragonflight first launched, or I don't know. At this point, Dragonflight's been out long enough that they just started Enchanting long ago. So there's been many resets in between when they started and now that's allowed them to kind of build up that knowledge point base that if you were just starting out, you wouldn't have. And so if you were to just get started into Enchanting right now, the way I see it, there's only a couple of opportunities or really like two options for you. Number one is going to be investing all of your knowledge points into it's within the inside of the blue tree. It's specifically to increase your chances of finding rousings when you kill a mob that drops rousings. It increases your chance of finding rousings by 40% if you've maxed out that tree. So if you do like 2x4 farming, for example, then Enchanting would be a good profession to have on that character. Again, if you're doing 2x4 farming that involves looting rousings. So that would be one good use for Enchanting. And then personally, the only other great use I see for Enchanting is just going to be disenchanting anything that you get. So you could do this from a couple of aspects. Number one, if you have Enchanting on your character that you do PvP or PvE on, disenchanting any of the items that you get from doing that content, or you certainly could do disenchanting with like a tailoring shuffle or something along those lines, which I just recently tried to see profitability. It is profitable. Is it the most profitable? By all means, definitely not. So that's why we've put Enchanting at D. I think that there are some niche uses for Enchanting that is good, but overall, it's certainly not the best. And I want to just quickly say here that the way I'm ranking these, number one is ease of entry, and number two is gold making opportunities. So I just want to stress that even if something's at the top of the list as S tier, that's not me necessarily saying that it is the most profitable profession, but it's just, I think, the most, a combination of the easiest to get into plus the most opportunity plus profitability. And so, again, that's why we've put Enchanting at the bottom. Next up, we are going to look at engineering, and engineering I am going to put into B tier. So gold making opportunities within engineering. And I think another important thing to say is that I'm specifically talking about commodities here. All of these crafting professions have gear crafting options for the most part, whether it's crafting PvP gear, PvE gear, or profession equipment. But I'm not focusing on any of those things. Again, it's just specifically the commodities within these markets. So with engineering, you have reagents. So you have like the shock spring coils, the cog wheels. I don't think they're actually called cog wheels, but I can't remember the exact name of them. The blasting powder. But a lot of those reagents are going to be specifically used within engineering. So they're really only going to be used in engineering crafts specifically. And I think the best way to explain what I'm specifically talking about with that is if you look at jewel crafting or inscription. Jewel crafting has gems that are going to be used by everyone. Inscription has missives that are going to be used by everyone. A lot of the crafting materials might be used by more classes, but engineers, from my experience, have only been used for engineering crafts or the occasional engineering gear that people want to get, like the bracers, for example, if they wanted to get those to have like one of the tinkers. That's a case where they would use the engineering crafting materials, but there's just not a massive market for the engineering reagents. And then the other option within engineering is going to be the pets and toys, which those are obviously a profitable market to be in. But the downside is once somebody's bought the toy or the pet that you're selling, they're likely not going to ever need to buy that specific toy or pet again. And so the market's kind of limited in that sense, that you're not going to see sell rates nearly as close to the commodities that you're selling with pets and toys. Now, that's not to say that pets and toys are not profitable, because they most certainly are. For example, like the portable party platter is a profitable craft, and it also depends on the server that you're on. So like I play mainly on Area 52, which is the highest population in a server, and I might sell a portable party platter for like 15 to 20k on Area 52, but if I was to take that item to a lower population server, I might be able to get 50 or 60,000 gold for it. So there's going to be some variation in prices, obviously, depending on the server. But again, the demand for those pets and toys is just not going to be up there compared to some other commodity crafting professions. So next up, we are going to have a look at alchemy. So alchemy, I am actually going to also put in B tier right next to or right in front of engineering. And that's because I believe alchemy is similar to enchanting in the sense that if you really wanted to maximize all of the gold making options within alchemy, you would have needed to have kind of a investment of knowledge points that has built up over a long time. So weeks and weeks of resets and doing the knowledge point weekly sources to gain more. Now you can most certainly kind of get started into alchemy on a fresh character, but you're only really going to be able to get them into one specific thing within either potion or file crafting. So to explain that better, I recently set up an alchemist, and I was able to invest all the knowledge points specifically into file of tepid versatility crafting. But all of my knowledge points went specifically to file of tepid versatility crafting, and I guess more broadly, frost potions or frost file. So anything that's technically a frost file, I should be able to profit off of. But anything that's like air files, I think that's the other option, is air files. I wouldn't be able to craft those and be profitable. And then I haven't even touched the potion tree, which is obviously going to require a ton of knowledge points to invest in order to earn some profitability within the potion side of alchemy. So alchemy is easy to do in the sense that, you know, you could get a character set up for profitability within an hour or two by targeting one specific like craft with your knowledge points. But that's kind of going to be the extent of your profitability within alchemy, unless you spend weeks and weeks kind of building up your knowledge point base. Now, I have made a lot of gold with the File of Tepid Versatility crafting, and I feel like I might be a broken record here, but that's the only thing that I'm able to do on that specific character. There's nothing else that I was able to invest my knowledge points into with that initial bulk of knowledge points that I got. I do have multiple alchemists, and that's always something that you could do. I have one alchemist that targeted File of Tepid Versatility, and then I have another alchemist that targeted more of the reagent side of crafting, because there is like Primal Convergence, Ominous Draconis that you could target within the alchemy tree. But you're really going to have to make a decision. Do I want to go like reagent crafting, or do I want to go file or potion crafting? And you're likely not going to be able to do all three or two if you're just starting out on your alchemist. And so that's why I'm putting it in B tier. Again, there's profit to be made within it, but there's certainly better options. Next up, we are going to look at tailoring. Tailoring I am going to put into C tier. So my experience with tailoring is really the only profitability options within this profession has been bag crafting, so Azure Weave Expedition packs and Chronocloth reagent bags. Now, part of the challenge with getting those recipes is they do require renown in order to get. The Azure Weave Expedition pack, I think, is renown level 23 or 24 with Dragon Scale Expedition. And then the Chronocloth reagent bag, I think, is like 27 with Valdrakken Accord. So it does require some renowns to kind of get those recipes. Not a hard thing to accomplish, and especially at this point in the expansion, I wouldn't be surprised if most people already have their renowns kind of maxed out. But if you don't, that would be kind of something that you would have to grind in order to get these recipes. Now, Inscription does have stuff like you could do the Infurious bolts in order for the PvP crafted gear. I haven't really tried that much. I think I'm gonna really look into that actually, and I'm gonna touch on Infurious stuff more here in a bit. But other than the Infurious bolts, you have the Azure Weave and Chronocloth bolts, but those have a weekly cooldown. So tailoring would be good if you have an alt army and you just want to like once a week log on to all those alts and do something. Combining the tailoring cloth cooldowns with like the Alchemy Dracothist transmutes might be something worth doing. But otherwise, the main thing that I craft on a regular basis for profit within tailoring is going to be those bags. And that's, I think, really about the extent of the profit options within tailoring. You might be able to do some spell threads that are profitable every once in a while. But other than that, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the options within tailoring. Maybe there's going to be some embellishments. Season 4 just started, so there might be some profitability options with embellishments. But I don't think that that's going to last for super long. I looked at embellishments and spell threads towards the middle to end of season 3, and I didn't see any opportunities really with those. So there might be some short-term opportunities, but I don't think it's going to last throughout the rest of season 4. Next up, we are going to look at blacksmithing. So blacksmithing, I'm going to put into A tier. So within blacksmithing, you've got alloys. That's kind of the main thing I've been doing. So you've got the Infurious alloy, you've got the Obsidian Seared alloy, Shadowed alloy. So let's just kind of list off, or let's go through the list. So first off, Infurious alloy has been unbelievably good to me. So that's why I was kind of saying with tailoring, I think I need to look into the Infurious bolts, because the Infurious alloy has been very, very good, very, very profitable, sells very consistently. I would definitely look into getting that recipe and looking at blacksmithing for that. Shadowed alloy is from Zerlet Cavern. You need barter bricks in order to buy the recipe for Shadowed alloy. Shadowed alloy is a unique outlier. So crafting shadowed alloy oftentimes is like 1,000 gold profit per craft, which is pretty unbelievable. But you have to keep in mind that, let's say you're wanting to craft 50 shadowed alloy, that's going to be like maybe 50,000 gold profit, but it's probably going to cost you between 450 and 500,000 gold to craft all of that shadowed alloy. So while shadowed alloy is profitable to craft, the barrier of entry in the sense of the investment it requires in order to get started in that is really something to consider and kind of daunting. And so it wouldn't necessarily be the best thing for somebody new into gold making to immediately dive into. And then lastly, the obsidian seared alloy within the alloy department is profitable every once in a while, just crafting without using anything special. However, I do know that if you have like 100 points, like your skill in blacksmithing is maxed out and you've gotten all the knowledge points into the alloy section, if you have artisan's metal, you can make the insights, the lesser illustrious insights, and guarantee rank 3 crafts within the obsidian seared alloy and turn a very solid profit with that. But otherwise, you're just going to be relying on inspiration procs for the rank 3 with obsidian seared alloy, and that is not always profitable. Now, there are some other things within blacksmithing, like shovels. I know people craft shovels for profitability. I believe some people have been making some profit off of like auto hammers and that kind of thing. So there obviously is some opportunity within blacksmithing in those areas. But I personally think that you could just invest all of your initial kind of bulk knowledge points just into the alloy side of blacksmithing and, start making some profit and some pretty consistent profit. And there's multiple recipes within the alloy department of blacksmithing, which is also part of the reason why I'm ranking it up on A, just because it's giving you some diversified options for crafting. Next up, we are going to look at leatherworking, which I am also going to put into A. I think that whether you put it in front of or behind blacksmithing is, it doesn't really matter. Actually, I probably would put it in front just because there is a little bit more recipe opportunity with this profession. So with leatherworking, you've got hides and scales. So essentially reagent crafting. There's like 5 or 6 different types of hides and scales that you can craft within leatherworking. And 2 of the different hides, so there's Infurious hide and Infurious scales. Those, again, are the PvP equivalent, and they typically are very profitable. So, again, I would absolutely recommend looking at those 2 recipes for profitability within leatherworking. But there are obviously other hides and scales, like Mireless hide, for example, is something that I've been crafting on a pretty regular basis and making some profit off of. But there is one kind of downside with the leatherworking thing, especially within the hides and scales realm, is a lot of the hides and scales share majority of the same knowledge points, but some of them have, or all of them have, like one unique specific set of knowledge points specific to that specific type of hide or scale that would require a little bit of targeting in regards to knowledge points. But for the most part, you can kind of cover all the hides and scales with the same set of knowledge points. So yeah, I mean, again, leatherworking has been pretty solid to me, and I haven't done a whole lot of, like the specific, like elemental mastery, I believe is what it's called, is like a specific knowledge point tree under leatherworking for a specific type of hide and a specific type of scale. And like I haven't put knowledge points into that yet. Leatherworking would require maybe several weeks of doing the weekly knowledge points just to kind of finish out all the necessary knowledge points for hides and scales. But another thing within leatherworking is going to be armor kits. Armor kits have been super valuable. And then some weeks, the feral hide drums, depending like on the barter brick quest, feral hide drums might be profitable. But there's the point is there's a lot of recipe options within leatherworking, which is why I am putting it into A tier. Next up is cooking. So cooking, I am just immediately going to put into S tier. Cooking is an unbelievably great moneymaker. And the barrier of entry is so low. So number one, cooking does not have knowledge points. Knowledge points just don't exist with cooking, which is unbelievably nice. Number two, there's only 2 profession equipment pieces for cooking, and they don't require artisan's metal to craft, which is also unbelievably nice. And it's unbelievably cheap to craft the items within cooking. I have made a ton of items within cooking. So Growl's Veneration, so that's the Grand Banquet of Kalawak. I have made thousands and thousands of those crafts. And there are so many different food dishes that you can craft. And if you are at all familiar with any of my content, then you might be familiar with the term I've said of crafting the crafting materials you need to craft. And cooking is an unbelievably good example of this. If you were to craft the Growl's Veneration, then to kind of increase profitability, craft the cooking dishes that are required to craft the Growl's Veneration, and that's just going to kind of maximize your profits. And again, you can make some solid profit off of cooking, and it doesn't require much gold investment to do. And so that's the main reason I'm sticking it at the top of S tier, is just because there's profit to be had, virtually zero investment to get started, and virtually zero investment to actually begin crafting. Okay, so next up, we are going to put jewel crafting on the list. And jewel crafting, I'm going to put at the top of A tier. Jewel crafting, I could go on and on. But just to name some of the top things within jewel crafting: to craft gems, elemental harmony, draconic vial, and then also just prospecting and crushing. So gems is kind of the more of the barrier of entry within jewel crafting. So to get into gems would require quite a bit of knowledge point investment. It's going to require 40 points into each specific type of gem. Well, I would say 25 to 40 points into each specific type of gem, as well as getting points into all the other knowledge point areas that just give you plus skill and then resourcefulness. So there's a lot of knowledge points needed in order to get started into jewel or gems specifically. But if you do that, gems are unbelievably profitable. Now, let's say you didn't want to do gems. This is why jewel crafting is such a great one, just because there's multiple commodities within the profession. If you don't want to do gems, you don't have to touch gems, and you could go into the elemental harmony, draconic vial, or prospecting route, and it's a completely different set of knowledge points to get into those different markets. And if you did go like the elemental harmony, draconic vial, prospecting, crushing routes, you would be able to not necessarily get into all 3 of those in one day, but you could probably get most of the knowledge points necessary to do prospecting and crushing, and then also elemental harmonies pretty quickly. And it's just giving you a lot of options within the profession for different stuff you can craft. And then, not to mention, jewel crafting does have some reagents that you can certainly craft. I usually stay away from those reagents because it's similar to engineering, just in the sense that some of the reagents jewel crafters make are going to be specific to jewel crafting crafts. And so they might be popular more at the beginning of a season when a lot of people are getting like their elemental lariats crafted and things like that. But for the most part, the jewel crafting, reagents in that sense are like frameless lens, for example, is one I can think of off the top of my head. The demand for that is just not going to be as high. I think it's also important to know that jewel crafting, at least Dragonflight jewel crafting, does have 5 different pets that you can do. It's kind of a pain in the ass to do, but I do think that those pets are going to increase in value once the War Within is here. So that's going to bring us to our final profession, which is Inscription, which is going to be into S tier as well. So with Inscription, you have missives, you have contracts, you have chilled runes, you have ruined wraithbark, you have inks. A lot of these different things are going to have specific knowledge point trees just for the specific thing. So if you want to do missives, there's going to be a specific knowledge point section for missives and contracts. If you want to do ruined wraithbark, you can invest knowledge points specifically for improving your ruined wraithbark crafting. Same with chilled runes, same with inks. Now, obviously, if you wanted to get into all of those markets that I just listed for Inscription, that is going to take a while, several weeks, probably more than just several weeks of, doing the knowledge point the knowledge point reset, weekly knowledge point reset. But you could get started into inks and milling like immediately, day one, or you could get started into missives and contracts very quickly. And that's kind of the point, and that's why I have Inscription at the top and jewel crafting right behind. Is there's a lot of items that you can craft within both of those professions for profit, and I think that's important to highlight. Is there are some professions like blacksmithing. Blacksmithing Shadowed Alloy technically is the highest profit per craft item I've seen in a long time, with being 1,000 gold profit per craft. But that's just one item within the profession, and I think one of the most important things to really making a lot of gold is diversifying the markets that you're in, not just targeting one specific recipe that has the highest margins, but diversifying the markets that you're in and selling everything from those professions. Every single one of these professions that you see on screen here, I have. At least one character has these professions. Some of them I have multiple characters. I have 2 cooks, I have 2 inscriptionists, I have 2 jewel crafters. I have 1 leatherworker, 1 blacksmith, 2 alchemists, 1 tailor, actually technically 2 tailors, 1 enchanter, 1 engineer. So I'm kind of doubling up on some of these professions to target some of the different recipes and the knowledge points. But I'm diversifying the markets that I'm in, and this ultimately results in me consistently having 20 to 25 different commodity items that I'm listing and selling on the auction house at any given time, which is just gonna far outweigh profitability if I were just targeting one specific craft or recipe on a profession. So yeah, I hope that this has given you some insight into Dragonflight professions. I think there is still a lot of opportunity for gold to be made within Dragonflight. I know we are definitely at the end of Dragonflight with season 4 having started, final season of the expansion. Obviously we have Pandemonium coming up, which is going to take some people away from retail, but I do believe, and I just unplugged my headphones, isn't that lovely? I do believe that there is still a lot of opportunity for gold to be made within Dragonflight and with these professions. And I just want to shout out Jordan for giving me this video topic idea. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope everyone's enjoyed this video and found some useful information out of this. Now, one of the kind of initial intentions I had with this video was to speculate on the War Within professions. But I think that I'm going to make a second video down the road once we've learned more about the War Within professions and actually speculating on how those will be. But as of now, I actually kind of think that we're probably going to have a similar experience with professions with War Within. I imagine that my tier list will look pretty similar with War Within as it does Dragonflight. Just because from what I've read so far, it seems like Blizzard was overall pretty happy with the state of professions within Dragonflight. So yeah, I would encourage you to diversify the markets that you're in. If you need to set up multiple characters within a specific profession, so maybe set up one character, let's say you wanted to do jewel crafting, but you wanted to do gems and elemental harmonies. maybe set up 2 characters. Set up one that's immediately like investing all the points specifically into gem related trees, and then another character specifically into elemental harmony or prospecting related trees. That might kind of help out, kind of speed things up. And then again, if you are kind of the alt army type of person, look at Azure Weave and Chronocloth cooldowns along with Dracothist transmute cooldowns. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it motivational, insightful, informational. I don't know. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I've got a giveaway currently going on my live stream. It's lasts until May 7th, an epic edition of The War Within. In order to be eligible, you just need to watch my live stream. I stream on Twitch and YouTube. You'll earn loyalty points just for watching, and then you can buy a giveaway ticket. So feel free to check that out. Otherwise, feel free to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of this video. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you're an idiot. Enchanting's easy as shit to get into. Just do this. Let me know. I want to know. I'm here to learn. I think everybody else that's watching is here to learn. So yeah, join my Discord. I have a bunch of resources available in Discord. I have a gold making sheet. I have TSM profiles available, and yeah, would love to have you. Anyways, again, hope you enjoyed watching. We'll catch you next time. See ya.